Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. Today, Vimes and I are back on a team in a 2v2 on Death Row once more. So we are playing against Draft, who is captain, as well as Boomer. These guys are both subscribers to the channel, so it was a pleasure, of course, to play with them in a couple of games. We should have another one up, I think, tomorrow, maybe one after that as well, with these guys. And Draft is very, very good, so it was quite a pleasure to have those games on the way. So immediate cap of Elena for the Blue 4 team. And I'm playing as Baltic Front, so the idea, well, Baltic Motorized even, the idea was to use endless tides of infantry to contest in center and push into Fetter if at all possible. I also have Sokals and an Alouette heading up just to fend off helicopters if possible. In the northeastern side, a bit of a wet noodle contest here as a dedicated helicopter hunter, that is the MiG-21 BIS, engages with the Draken and both sort of just kind of get a couple shots off, but not really too much of anything. Evac ordered on both, but F-18C able to, well, once more just absolutely wreck my opponent's air play. So Scout Defender does get a pretty good look at us moving forward here, and my Helo squad's feeling a little bit uncomfortable. We do have a mixed bag of infantry on the eastern side, as my ally here, Vimes, is going to be focusing mostly just on this eastern side and trying to push through. So I mean, Death Row is a very vertical map, but it has a lot also on the sides that they're not objectives, but they are still definitely avenues for aggression and for, therefore, requiring defense. So Draft's transports are moving forward here, and I didn't really understand this at the time, but I think he's just trying to draw out fire, draw out known positions, and size me up with a relatively cheap cost here, as these 5-point and I believe a couple 10-point transports do go down. I have a resupply vehicle, however, so we will reset our ammunition pretty well here. And I have Yekri, Mor Yekri, Sisi, Raskas, and Korima defending the front, as well as a couple spike teams over with the PST OHJs, and Iroquois Yekri special forces moving up to the northeast. Vab's moving over from Boomer and unfortunately caught out in the open, and at this point I'm feeling pretty good. It's about the only time this match that's going to happen. Bit of spoilers there, but you can see there are some infantry moving up and they're triple stacks. It's going to be a rough time. So, I mean, right now I have, 1, 2, 3 units of Yekri in the front line, but Kust Yekri are moving forward. I'm trying to get my Yekri back, as I know they won't be able to fight these guys, but they're caught in the open, and Kust Yekri, I mean, Swedish infantry, 35 points, 15 strength, elite special forces, are gonna have a field day there. We do get another plane as it's coming in a little bit too close to the air defensive zone, but I've already lost a unit of Yekri. I've nearly lost another. The Kust Yekri are barely even hurt. CC and Raskas and Korima opening up with those recoilless rifles, not able to get the DPS against infantry in this sort of situation. They were meant as backups against infantry fighting vehicles at longer range. And the Sturmpioneer, I lost so many points of infantry so quickly I blinked and this town combat was over. So of course the captain Draft himself teaching me a couple of things about how to handle this map. Artillery also coming in, targeting my Iroquois Yekri special forces, are going to be retreated along with the Musties and a couple of other infantry fighting vehicles. More reinforcements desperately coming out, but these are just Yekri and they'll suffer the same as the original groups do. So a bomber coming in from my ally, and well, Draft is on top of it, so he moved his infantry back, and there's really no losses there to that napalm run. There was a bit of a helicopter engagement here, and the Sokals did equip themselves quite well, using all their Iglas, but were able to fend off a couple paratroopers and other sorts of helicopters as well. So Legion 90 engaged by my ally here. He is launching a beacon on the other side, trying to get rid of those mortars. We're not really able to pretty much the whole game. It was really a pain in the ass. Iroquois Yekri hoping to get up and around and do something in the back lines here, preferably as annoying as possible for our opponents. And there was a PH2 Tiger I was hoping to get my eyes on. There it is, and the Iroquois are moving forward, trying to get close to it. They can, of course, shoot relatively well through the woods as they are infantry, and I just need to get inside of range here. There it is, Iglas opening up, 1 and 2, 1 hits, and where was the second missile? Really? Interesting. Second one, I guess third on the way, and that guy does go down. Commandos Para identified by the Iroquois, but this is going to be a hard fight because of that tertiary and the good training off the Commandos Para. So I do back up a little bit, bring in the Sokals, and those rocket pods are able to make pretty short work there, so nice combined arms feeling there. In the meantime, my reinforcements were able to get a temporary reprieve in this section, but I had the sneaking suspicion it was just because the Swedish infantry were refitting, resupplying, and regaining their strength. So not exactly ideal, and more infantry are going to have to come in to plug that gap. We are making relatively good progress on the eastern side though for now, and I'm hoping to keep that up for as long as possible. Special forces, so Specjalny Jednostki, moving up from my ally. Not the best at pronouncing those, still working on it, but we'll see what we can do. And able to take out a couple enemy infantry there. Storm Pioneer moving up once again, and these guys are absolutely brutal, especially when supported by something with a bit of anti-vehicle punch with the Volskum Jägeri. So I lose even more Jägeri, those were the reinforcements. KT is able to get some good sustained fire, but I don't think it's able even to kill anybody as those guys... Oh no, they're moving forward. That will be a problem for them. Stunned, panicked, and unfortunately for me, relatively evenly shot at. So, of course, if we don't lose a squad and they get back, those squads can all heal up. Kustjägeri moving across open ground to try to get to the fort position as artillery is opening up, trying to get at my KTs. Avia 28 bomber coming in, and this time we might be on target. Let's see. Yeah, actually. So Kustjägeri take a bit of a hit. I think it did kill those other infantry as well. My Iroquois take some mortar fire in return, and that is very much an uncomfortable trade. KRKK is moving forward, and those frag rounds do scare off the Kustjägeri, so at least holding for right now, and Vimes has been able to get some special forces forward here, but XA-180s from Draft moving over and taking a couple pot shots there is going to be a bit of a rough situation as my Iroquois get up and around the side. And unfortunately, those were not empty transports. They were carrying Fallskärmjäger, which, I mean, these guys are both way too damaged to handle a full group of a double squad of Fallskärmjäger, just force pathing right through, buzzsawing through my allies' infantry, and we're getting pushed back once again. So, I mean, pretty starved for points here. My helicopter squad is repairing and refitting at the FOB. And we can see, you know, Vimes and I are both bringing out more infantry, more infantry, more infantry as soon as we possibly can. It's going to be a consistent theme throughout this. I'm also trying to get the Avias online. But Kartenjägeri are able to get a pretty good engagement here, stunning the Fallskärmjägeri and taking that group out of commission pretty quick at the cost of a single man. These guys are hopefully my answer to my opponent's elite forces. Of course, Shock will lose to elite training, but my guys are also 10 points cheaper, so I might be able to get just more bodies present in that front line. Snezka opening up and getting some pretty good damage in here. It's always nice when you can get that sort of chip fire at elite enemy infantry on open grounds. And actually, I think that was... he might have split the unit. Yeah, interesting. One unit was probably far enough in the woods he could be hidden, and the other one was not. So the Snezka is able almost to kill those units, but not quite. Kartenjägeri were moved up and able to dodge that mortar fire coming in, but it's been pretty accurate all game, probably coming from Draft as well. And now we have something coming in on the Snezka, also a Leclerc spotted from Boomer, and it's pretty clear they're going to get ready for a push, and we may not be able to hold it. So, in terms of my own forces, I have Jägeri, I have a couple of Iroquois, but not many. I'm trying to get more resupply trucks. Kartenjägeri in the northwest. We have a couple musties with their recoilless rifles. They are just like Ruskas and Korima in terms of that specialist infantry able to get some pretty decent range fire in, and here comes the rush. So we lose a plane for my ally, and these guys are recoilless rifle trucks. They're 10 or 15 points, don't quite remember, let's take a look. 10-point recoilless rifle trucks, that does make them a little bit cheaper than the musties at 15, and the relative performance won't matter when there's just that many. So, of course, Draft is trying to completely push us out of the zone, and if not that, at least kill command vehicle. The Gaskopa's gun has been turned off, and as it turns out, they never actually spotted him, which is the damnedest thing, because those musties go down right next to him as they were trying to stem the tide of recoilless rifle trucks. In the meantime, KRKKs and BTR trying to do their best, but the T-72 is really anchoring this formation. Kustjägeri also moving up, but pretty damaged. This might have been better served just having them back and getting a resupply vehicle up and forward. Avia 28 bomber coming in, and that should be at least somewhat deadly, but these guys are relatively quick, and they are moving away from it, so we get about 30 points, maybe even 20 worth of kills off of that. Of course, this push has been relatively well stemmed, but there's a Martyr 1A3 opening up those ATGMs and the T-72S, because, I mean, as long as he's shooting, he's going to be pretty well spotted. Musties and Kartenjägeri reinforcements are opening up, but not the best accuracy there, and we're starting to get a bit of chip damage on the T-72S from those Martyrs. Really annoying. Sphere ATGM's opening up in return, but look at that. Second hit and third hit takes down that big old tank. Kartnyekri and some Motschützen from Vimes are the only things stemming the tide here, but we lost some pretty big units, some pretty important units. In the meantime, Erikozyekri have infiltrated in, but were unfortunately spotted going over that top of the hill, so they will be chased down and destroyed relatively soon. And there was a beacon, I don't quite remember for what, but Kartnyekri just trying to move forward and keep that command vehicle alive, get stunned and moving back, trying to move back the Yekri as well. Just to keep these infantry alive, because if I lose them too, it's just going to be game blouses right there. So Kartnyekri moving back, my resupply trucks are, I mean, they're relatively effective here, but getting drained really quickly, just resupplying Erikoys. Specialist infantry, of course, are very expensive. Musties engaging with XA-180s will at least be somewhat of a good engagement for us, but Chasseurs engaging with LSTRs, very much not. So, I mean, this has become, at least the last 10 minutes, has been a constant description of fighting going on way too much on our side of center. With a minor play like this, my Erikoy is getting immediately isolated and wiped out in Dimitri, our opponent's home zone. And we are able to fend off those Chasseurs, but that last man of the LSTR, can he get out? He is moving backward, out of engagement range of the Chasseurs. I mean, hey, better to save that unit than not, right? Yekri, kind of sacrificial, just trying to spot the FSK as I have a T-55M shooting in. Storm Engineer also bringing their guns online, and these guys are Eric's teams. They were featured pretty strongly in the Take My Town earlier on in the week, and very, very deadly at a really high range, also able to use those Erics against Yekri and other infantry, so pretty effective there. I thought that was going in against the Gaskopa, but turns out no. And T-55 engaging with Martyrs. I mean, that should at least be a relatively good engagement as long as those Martyrs are distracted, but again, getting worn down, and more resupply vehicles coming up, trying to just keep these infantry and vehicles alive. At this point, I'm calling out Terra Musties, trying to return the sort of vehicle spam that we had from our opponent as well, just to keep things going, and an F-16A MLU will get engaged by an F-18C. 1 shot and 2 shots is taken down. The F-18C evacuated. Avia-28 bomber coming in once more, trying to discourage a push a little bit preemptively. Maybe not the best idea, but there were Krustigri, and they do take a beating, as well as those FSK taking a bit of a beating from that big old bomb. So at least that was something, and maybe it did make the difference, but we'll never really know for certain. But T-55's opening up. There is a AMX-10 RC on that side as well. Even fight, I think the Pion should win. A lot heavier armor, but it's not even fight. And the Leclerc there for the Blue 4 team is able to take on my Pion pretty well. So artillery coming in, just trying to stun this. This was excellent work from my ally with that RM-70. I also have a triple squad of Danas trying to answer the howitzers that have been going after us all game as well. But those buys are very expensive, and I probably would have been better served just padding out the front line that little bit more. I hadn't expected another push to come quite so soon. My Kartnyekri have been relatively well worn through. I have a second squad up and around trying to do infiltration work again, but if that fails, that's a high-risk fail right there, because if we lose this line, I mean, there's not much land between us and just losing the game right here. If our enemy is able to push us out and cap center, that's going to become a +2 ticking. As they gain 1, we lose 1. And that will make things go from bad to worse very quickly. Terra Musties not really doing that much here, just kind of getting a little bit pounded by mortars as they come in. But Foskumjäger are going to be engaging with Erikoys and a Terra Mustie. I should have gotten these guys back. I didn't really have anyone else to send into the meat grinder though, so wasn't really sure what to do. And now these guys are not, oh yes, they are, sorry. Still more 10-point recoilless rifle jeeps coming in. More than enough of them to handle my slow stream of Terra Musties that was coming forward to engage with them, so we'll have to rely on the XA-180 Musties, and unfortunately my Reskas and Korima were not unloaded in time, so, well, at least not the first squad, so they aren't able to bring their Musty recoilless rifles online either. And finally, the Gaskopa is spotted and aimed at, shot at, a little bit, and fortunately all misses, as these guys have terrible accuracy. That Copa is moving back, trying to get out of the way and still keep the zone cap, so moving from the first line of hedges into that rear line of hedges, and my Kartnyekri, my Raskas and Korima are just barely holding the line. The XA-180 Copa is panicked, and now the zone has been counter-capped, so there is something in there For our opponents now trying to... oh, sorry, no, not quite yet. He was just moving once again. My apologies there for the erroneous description. My Kartnikri infiltrators have been isolated and killed. I think it was by that Panther right there. Of course, those Sneb rocket pods are very deadly. Helicopter here coming up from Vimes, saving the day, able to take out those last couple trucks, but there's a Leclerc. I'm trying to answer it with an Mi-24. We'll see if those rovers let me have it, though, as that is a little bit of a risky proposition. And, I mean, rover trucks opening up. Let's see. Answering fire, but a little bit too late, and I do lose the Mi-24W. Quite a blow, 85 points. Helicopter there, not exactly something you want to lose. And the Syria does, I think, manage to take down that Leclerc. Let's take a look. Yes, that's a dead French tank. Right there, if I ever saw one. Kustjäger still holding in that town, and these guys are, of course, those elite infantry that have been giving me trouble the entire game. More martyrs coming in, more martyrs coming in, more martyrs coming in. Just 3 double stacks, and these guys were, I think they were meant to be timed with that other push. But as it is, they're coming in a little bit late, and that will give us a bit of an advantage as there's a T-72M2 Moderna opening up, able to take out those martyrs in a single shot. Very, very useful for this last sort of desperate defense here. Musty is also opening up, and the Snezka really wonderful at anti-infantry work, so Vimes is just completely crumpling this push here from Boomer, which was very timely, very much an absolute requirement. Volkskremjäger moving up on our eastern side, and we don't really have anything to stop them, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of path they take. There's still about 12 minutes, maybe 13 left in the game. My ally has managed to get some Sokals over, but Fennec 20mm, just cheap helicopters are going to be engaging. Rocket pods are already all used, Igla's already all used, and it's going to be gun against gun, so the Fennecs might actually have the advantage there just from numbers, if nothing else. Although, I mean, we'll have to see. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, one of the Sokals goes down, one of the Fennecs goes down, other Sokal goes down, just weight of numbers. Peace Ryan coming in, and he is headed after that Moderna, who has actually used up all of his autocannon rounds, and unfortunately no smoke coming in from us. That Moderna is still spotted, still visible, and does bite the dust. So a very valuable kill there from Boomer with that Peace Ryan. Kartnikri were moving forward and did get a couple good engagements here, just trying to scare off another push, trying to stay alive that last second longer. Vasquez and Koriyima and Kartnikri holding the line as best they can. I have no heavy tanks though, as I am playing a motorized deck. I couldn't bring my own Moderna or anything like that up onto the field, which I was really regretting at this point. We do actually catch sight of Volkskremjäger moving over the open ground here on the side of the mountain, which was just terrifying, so it made me think, okay, do they have other infiltrators as well? Are we really toast here? I have ignored a couple minor engagements over on the western side, but I was also able to get Reniko over in the northwest, and they have a long way to go. We'll check back in with them here in just a couple seconds, but I guess a couple minutes. Kartnikri engaging with Panzergren, and actually I was really surprised the way that this went, because Kartnikri are very good. I think it was just they weren't within range to use their primary weapon, so Panzergren were, and that made all the difference, as the Kartnikri do have a relatively short range primary with this Suomi KP, so bit of a not optimal woods engagement there, and a lot of points lost in that regard. And this time, those are LKV 105s. These guys are 35-point tankettes. Quite a bit more fearsome than the previous pushes, and I've lost the remains of my infantry as Kartnikri are going down. I do, of course, have another Avia-28 bomber coming in, but he's actually lost, and we got some work done there. The Panzergren were injured, the Martyrs were injured, but it's not enough. My Copa is... there's nothing between him and those LKVs, except for my ally's Dyna 1, which won't be enough on its own. So Dana's opening up. Now that is the Gaz Copa finally moving backward and out of the zone, trying to stay alive as LKVs move forward, but Snezka is actually able to fend them off, and an Mi-24W moving up as well, having dealt with those Volkskremjäger on the mountain, and now trying to use some of those Kokon cyclist missiles against these little tankettes. I mean, but there's 4 of them, and that will, if nothing else, buy time as those guns come online. Another Moderna anchoring this formation, the Mi-24W, trying to get some good work done as well, and we've lost center. Our opponents are getting a +1 now. Peace Run coming in again, and jeez, I swear that Moderna just got probably, he dodged 4 missiles. The odds of that are probably about 1 in 20, 1 in 25, if even that high, so very much better lucky than good in that regard. F-18C coming in, trying to take out that MLU. We do get him. Answering fire from AA, and the F-18C just barely manages to make it out. Super Puma's charging over to Dimitri, but it's a desperation move, if anything. And I have now more infantry coming up in Musties, just quad stacking because finesse is overrated in desperate times like this. And what I said was worst case scenario has actually come to pass, as we were forced out of center. Center is now capped, and Draft and Boomer are getting a +2 ticking. So Super Puma is able to spot a couple things. We do spot a Caesar, but a Flak Panzer Gepard's opening up, and that is going to be the end of Super Pumas. I don't even think we identify the Gepard ever. No, I saw it earlier from the Iroquois Zegri, but that's about it. Charge of Fennec 20mm up the side to return our sort of endless sneakery here is fended off by Sopals and SPW-80s, which is pretty good. There is a bit of a local hardpoint here, and, you know, had that not been tested, it would have just been wasted points. As it is, it did come in handy. XA-180s coming in from Draft, handled by LSTR and SPW-80s. And a Crotal moving up a little bit too close to the sun is spotted and killed by an ATGM plane of all things, so a couple times now I've had that happen where Crotal's been taken out by ATGM planes. Better safe than sorry, I suppose. Leclerc making short work of those transports, and LSTR trying to finish the job with their Vampire missiles. Meanwhile, the Renico are just, you know, they're just taking a walk. You know, having a good time, walking through the forest. I guess running through the forest as fast as they can. Yeah, they're doing good. They're all living their best lives and all that. But we have a problem. So the XA-180 has moved over, but this is a pretty predictable position. It's about the only thing I had left to me, as this woods has been taken by the Blue 4 team. So I didn't expect him to live very long. I was just trying to stem the bleed a little bit longer. As you know, we're 110 points in the hole, and our opponents have a +1 ticking, so not exactly a comfortable situation for us at all. Crotal moving up, and that's Leclerc in the woods, staying just luckily out of... Oh, no, never mind. LSTR do take him down. That's another Leclerc kill. I do love seeing that dead French tank. I really don't like Leclerc's at all. Mostly because I never play as... Well, I rarely play as France. There was the one game where Lowen was able to convince me, but that's far and away an exception rather than the rule. More mortar fire coming in, and my musties are taking a couple shots. Raskusin Koriyama... Apologies there. Raskusin Koriyama in a quad stack, just trying to get those recoilless rifles online, hopefully just using numbers to fend off another push from similar sort of vehicles or tankettes. And I have now my own 4 T-55M Maddies 55-point tanks, anchored by a T-55M Pion PSV, 75-point version, a bit better armor. I think it has the same gun. I'm not sure if it's the same name gun, but it is the same 17 AP. Yeah, it's actually the same name. 17 AP, 60% accuracy, full range, so pretty nice there. More Iroquois Zekri coming up, and the Crotal able to take down my allies' helicopter. Pretty unfortunate in that regard, and more musties coming up with more and more and more infantry. F-18C gets a little bit greedy. I don't really know why I sent him in here. I think it was just I'm losing. I just want to see if I can get anything that I can. Renico Yekri did engage with and kill some infantry in the woods, and are now moving forward, just barely able to dodge some mortar fire. And finally, you know, I think to myself, okay, charging at Dimitri hasn't worked. Let's see if I can get these guys to be annoying, sticking around in Elena, maybe a little bit longer than they were otherwise able to achieve. So, about 7 minutes left in the match, and it ends for very surprising reasons, so I do highly recommend sticking around to figure that one out, as we have finally now a bit of a defensible line here. Iroquois, musties, Raskusin Koriyama, more musties, more infantry also still in there, not unloaded because I am, of course, a relatively inexperienced player here, and we do lose the command vehicle to howitzer fire. Kind of expected. Iroquois also getting stunned and pretty much immediately killed by Panzergren in the woods, which it's the second time I've made that mistake this game. It was really just one of those learning moments where I'm sitting there going, okay, you know what, I have to stop leading with those guys. There's low availability, it's not what they're meant for, it's just making mistake into making mistake. Yet again, MI-35 moving forward, and just, ride on the Valkyries, man, because that Crotal is going to have a word to say to you. But, you know, rocket pod's going up, and, you know, he was almost able to get it. If there was a little bit extra time, Probably would have been able to, but that is what the Crotal is, of course, paid to do, assuming he does get paid. So now we have the Maddies moving forward, and there is a push by Draft and Boomer on the eastern side. Musties, though, pretty good. I mean, cheap recoilless rifles have a reason for their existence, and especially when backed up by all of those Maddies, should be pretty effective. There is a bomber coming in here, though, the Draken 1s from Draft, trying to crush that advance, but Flak Panzers do take him out, and the bombs were not all that effective, so Maddies, of course, don't have the heaviest armor. They are panicked by this and pretty hurt, but as long as they're still alive, I'm okay with it. Raskas and Korima, of course, were slightly damaged, but still all 4 of them alive, able to use those musty recoilless rifles. A second bomber coming in, this time from Boomer. Actually, it's a Peace Rhine, and he does kill, I think he killed a musty. A little bit bad luck there, but the Peace Rhine does get out, and now there's another Tornado 1DS coming in, and I'm trying to handle him with the MiG-21 BIS, but he lost targeting priority. I'm not really sure why. But the Tornado able to drop his bombs, and let's see what happens to those poor Raskas and Korima. Actually, a bit of a swing and a miss from the Tornado, so they are fine. Kustjägeri finally taken out. Infantry moving up through the woods here, engaging with the Panzergren. Moat shoots in as well, moving up there. And the Maddies just inexorable here in their push. Kustjägeri, again, just being stunned, and sheer volume of fire. But now we have the mortars coming in. Raskas and Korima do lose a couple men there, and a couple men up on the front side as well, down to three unit squads for each one, but finally able to resecure some sort of forward position in the town and engage with RBS 56. These are, of course, the ATGM infantry from the Swedish specialty weapons groups, and I mean, they would have been a pretty big problem with the Raskas and Korima able to use their recoilless rifles on infantry as well. Should make pretty short work of them, as we do lose another musty, but I mean, engaging Legion here is pretty nice. If we can take those guys out, it would be pretty valuable. So just sheer volume of fire, stunned, injured once more. Draken coming in and getting wrecked by anti-air, and it looks like we're actually on the way to retaking this town. A quad stack of Kartenjäkeri leading the way, buzzsawing through some Panzergren, and it appears our opponents are finally running out of stuff, as the Raskas and Korima, as the Reneko-Jäkeri have been an absolute nuisance in the back end of this. As it turns out, I did actually spot enemy command infantry and just didn't really know what I'd had there, so I moved them away. But as you can see, we did get a couple of vehicle kills here. That's quite a few AMX scout tanks as well as a Crotal on the woods. Probably about 200 points worth of kills there. But we will see that in the kills and losses at the end of the match here. And at this point, Draft, or Artyom, I think is his name, popped into our voice chat and just said, I won't surrender. And I'm sitting there going, what the hell are you talking about? You're up by 250 points. What do you mean you won't surrender? You have us on the ropes. We should be the ones saying we won't surrender. But I think what was happening was, I mean, we just had so many infantry now moving forward, and we had defended by the skin of our teeth for long enough that's, well, we actually did kind of all right. So, I mean, center has been retaken. The air game has been unkind to our opponents as well, as they have just lost plane after plane after plane. The Tornado bombers are not the most effective for handling this sort of thing. You really need bigger bombs, like from the Avia 28s, to take out entire positions in a single run. And Fallskärmjäger aren't enough. Kartenjäkeri getting through. Reneko still in the back line with 15 men left in that double squad, and the infantry from Boomer finally being taken out by Musties and KTs over on the eastern side here. Just, I mean, absolutely brutal in the closing minutes of this match. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit. I think Draft does leave here in just a second or two. Kartenjäkeri able to spot Nasams killed by Seaplane, at least one of them. MX-10 RC sparring with the Maddie, and actually I think he's able to get that kill as the Maddie is panicked. So we have been a little bit crumpled on that side, but the Reneko, just absolutely merciless, have used all of their Airpolas. All 16. Usually each one, I mean, that's going to be about 10, maybe 11 hits off of that. So pretty good there. Bombing Run actually kills FSK as well, so a bit of friendly fire there, just finally able to take out those Reneko-Jäkeri. And there it is. Draft has surrendered, just expecting to get completely blown through, losing Feder and Elena, and therefore the game, all in one fell swoop. I'm not sure we could have done that, but I did have command infantry coming up in a Sokol. The idea was to countercap Feder and to just push through as well with Vimes' units. But I do lose my quad stack of Kartenjäkeri. This is why you should never quad stack Kartenjäkeri, but I mean, it's what was done to me in these center towns here, and it was damn effective. And as Draft has surrendered, so does Boomer. So looking at the kills and losses here, there's about 5,600 kills, about 4,700 kills for the other enemy team, and Vimes and I had no idea we were up 1,000 points almost. That was, yeah, completely blew our minds upon seeing this at the end. Of course, Vimes did go a little bit more positive than I did, so many thanks to him for holding the line there. 29-minute game, F18C got 2 MLUs, which is pretty valuable. Yikri did not do very well. Sokol actually did pretty well, so this is what I said. The beginning of the game, I missed a little bit of a helicopter engagement, and we did manage to take down some Marine Jaeger, as well as a Puma Pirate and a Gazelle Canon, which is always a very valuable thing. Another Puma Pirate, and this one was carrying Commandos Para, so pretty valuable there. Iroquois Yikri that got the Tiger, Crotal, and spotted for us was pretty nice. And going down the list, it looks like Avios didn't really get that many kills, but killing FSK is pretty invaluable. Dana's killing a Caesar just by weight of fire was pretty nice. And finally, we got down into some infantry and vehicles that are able to hold their own. So Mi-24W is doing pretty well. Dana's getting a couple other kills I hadn't realized at the time, but this was the supporting fire into that town. And killing those Storm Engineers and Kustjägeri was absolutely clutch. Miracle Yekri 90, these guys are the ones I think that did get that nice infiltration. And you can see, I mean, we killed a couple of Fennecs, that's pretty cheap. We killed FSK in their transports, Falskrim Jaeger in their transports, Sapurs. Very, very nice work done. Oh, yeah, even more. So, yeah. Radical Yekri proving absolutely invaluable. The Pion PSV also did pretty well. And that's all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.